that's why I don't live in Poland. I mean, one of the reasons.
Yeah, because I guess the extremes, there's more of a difference between like you having maybe a better summer, more predictable in terms of like good weather,
Exactly.
and then the winter is just freezing all the time.
Exactly. And it snows a lot. And I think in Manchester it doesn't snow at all. Or
Maybe like one
it's
week a
impossible.
year, something like that.
Exactly. So yeah, in Poland the winter can be pretty tough.
Hello, 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 and welcome back to another conversation and listening practice with me, Lewis, and an amazing guest who we'll get to in a second. And yeah, I hope you're enjoying all of these conversations and getting an insight into all of these people behind the videos. I'm really enjoying interviewing so many of these wonderful people, and I'm excited to interview today's guest too. So, Veronica or Veronique? Which name do I go for?
Veronica, you can call me. Hi everyone. Thank you, Lois, for having me. Nice to be here.
It's my pleasure. Yeah, I was really eager to get you on the podcast and have a little chat to get to know you more, and that way people can also get to know you more. So let's start with that. Could you introduce yourself? Who are you? Where are you from? What do you do? Etc.
Sure. So I'm going to try to make long story short. So basically, I'm from Poland, and until the age of 19, my only language was Polish. I didn't speak any other language. Then I moved to the UK, and I was kind of forced to start speaking English and find a job. Obviously, I was learning English at school, but let's say it wasn't very effective,
Mhm.
right? So I moved to the UK. I lived there for 6 months. I worked 2 full-time jobs, and it was really the experience that changed everything for me. So I really understood at that time that English is like my passport to a better future, that English will unlock a lot of opportunities for me. So yeah, since then, I lived in many different countries because I'm a digital nomad. Right now, I have my project, Wanna Speak by Veronique, and I can work anywhere I
Mhm.
want. Right now, I'm in Thailand. Yeah, but during the last years, I basically been living in many different countries. I also speak Spanish because my partner is Spanish, and I love Spain. And to be honest, since I was a teenager, I wanted to live in Spain. So I kind of made that dream come true when I was 22, I guess. So yeah, we can say that my base is Spain, the Canary Islands.
Excellent, perfect. There's so many things that we can unpack little by little, but let's
Lovely.
start with learning English at school in Poland, because in different countries around the world, there are different reputations for what the schooling system is like with English. We know that in like Scandinavia and in the Netherlands, everybody kind of always speaks like a near perfect English,
Cool.
despite not going to like an academy or having classes, but it's different around the world. Like in Poland, in your own experience, what was it like?
Yeah.
Sigh.
Yes, because it wasn't really effective, as I mentioned before. They made us memorize grammar rules in Polish. Can you imagine? Like, I was learning what present simple is in Polish.
Okay.
And then we were creating examples, but not based on our lives or experiences, but, they had to be some random examples about random people that you don't even know, or some, random stories. So it wasn't personalized at all. And the other thing that I found totally terrible was memorizing endless vocabulary lists. And there was like an English word and a translation to Polish.
Mhm.
So I didn't know how to think in English. I wasn't immersed. Like, English was really abstract. it wasn't like real life. It was like another subject that I simply need to pass and memorize some things that don't really matter to me. I mean, didn't really matter to me at the time. That's why moving to the UK, to Manchester, was so mind opening. Like, oh my God, this is real life. This is not some random subjects that I don't care about. This is real life, and I need to find a job, and I need to start making money by using English as a tool. Yeah.
I mean, it sounds like painful, the way of learning a language. And I think this was like across the board. Like, this is how people learned languages in France, in Spain, in Italy. Back then, I think now times are changing. Methodologies are kind of getting up to speed with the current times as well. But yeah, it doesn't sound fun at all. And I'm surprised you didn't like just feel completely demotivated and like give up with English forever.
I felt really demotivated. I think that's why I'm here, because I really like my mission for now is to show people that languages are fun and you can learn languages by having fun and, adjust them to your life. This is how I learned Spanish, by using full immersion. And I learned Spanish. I got fluent in Spanish in just 7 months, to be honest, by using completely different methods than I use with English.
They are worlds apart, and we'll get into Spain and Spanish and all of these things. But let's start with the UK and Manchester. Why?
Why? Okay, that's quite a story, to be honest. So, I after my high school, after the exams, when I graduated from high school, I really wanted to move abroad to find a job. I really wanted to taste the world, outside of my country. And I had a friend in Manchester. She lived there. And it was like a perfect opportunity, to first start at her apartment. She helped me kind of like settle down. So yeah, that is why I really didn't like the weather in Manchester. That was pretty depressing, to be honest. But anyway, that was a really great experience. What I found really challenging, though, was the accent.
Okay.
And,
I mean, it could be worse. It could be worse. You could have been just next door in Liverpool and it would have been trickier.
My coworkers were from Liverpool, so at the beginning I was like, this saying, fake it until you make it.
Yeah.
So basically I was faking it a lot. Like, I pretended that I understand. I didn't, to be honest. So that was an extremely stressful experience. The first 2 months were kind of like, oh my God, how am I going to make it? But finally,
I mean, you faked it and then you made it. So it worked in the end.
Yes, and I managed to find 2 jobs actually in Manchester. So, my English at the time was pretty broken. It wasn't that bad because, at the end of the day, I learned something at school, something. But that was, a textbook English. So, sometimes native speakers were looking at me like,
what's she on about?
Oh my God.
You know,
I remember when I was working at a restaurant, I asked one of the coworkers, can you please provide me something, And they were like, what are you saying? Can you pass me simply?
it sounds very formal. Could you please provide me with a fork?
Exactly. But, I didn't know this back then because, I just learned from the book. So, yeah.
Manchester as a city, you mentioned you didn't like the weather, which is completely understandable. But what about the city? What did you think of it at the time?
It wasn't my favorite one, to be honest. I cannot tell you exactly why. Now as a full-time traveler, I have a lot of places that I can compare with Manchester, but maybe, I believe that experiences in a place make your opinion about the place, right? So I don't know if I can be really objective about Manchester because I was working very hard. I was with my ex, and it was a very toxic relationship, to be honest. Um, yeah, I lived in a shared flat, as you would say in British English, right? Um, yeah, so it was difficult for me, but most probably some people could say that Manchester is a wonderful city. So it depends.
I mean, on my channel, feel free to criticize Manchester. That's absolutely fine by me.
Yeah, I don't want to criticize Manchester because as I said, I'm not sure if I'm going to be objective. I didn't like the industrial parts of Manchester. And yeah, it's a pretty industrial city, like a lot of, warehouses. I used to work in one. So yeah.
No, it's interesting. I wonder when I'll actually have a chat with a Mancunian on my channel. I'm sure I'll organize one soon, and then we can go really deep into Manchester because I'm
Yeah.
from near Manchester, but it's not Manchester. I'm from
So,
near Leeds, which is kind of a rival city, a little bit smaller, still
yeah.
quite industrial, but I think it's slightly more beautiful. But again, I wouldn't be like bragging about Leeds to anyone. It's just like it's all right. It's kind of a medium-sized English industrial university city, but there's nothing kind of interesting about it, really, apart from the football, of course.
Yeah. I'm not really into football, but I get it. And I used to live in Salford in Manchester, so the area, let's say, wasn't really beautiful.
Yeah, mate. Let's move on from Manchester. Ugh.
Exactly.
And you mentioned that the weather was bad, but I've never been to Poland. Isn't the weather kind of similar to English
Um,
weather?
it's not similar, but it's pretty freaking cold in Poland right now, especially now we have January. So, yeah, Poland can be really tough when it comes to the weather. I would say from October, November till March,
Uh-huh.
it's very cold, very cold. That's why I don't live in Poland. I mean, one of the reasons.
Yeah, because I guess the extremes, there's more of a difference between like you having maybe a better summer, more predictable in terms of like good weather,
Exactly.
and then the winter is just freezing all the time.
Exactly. And it snows a lot. And I think in Manchester, it doesn't snow at all. Or
Maybe like one
it's
week a
impossible.
year, something like that.
Exactly. So yeah, in Poland, the winter can be pretty tough, and yeah, I think that the weather in Manchester, like the north of the UK, is like rainy, right? Rainy,
Depressing.
depressing. Exactly. This is how I remember it. Depressing.
So let's move on from the United Kingdom.
Yeah.
What happened next? Where did you go and what did you do, having done 2 jobs in Manchester?
Yeah. So my goal was to make as much money as I could to start traveling. Like traveling was always a dream of mine. So then I started traveling around the world. I had a gap year. So for our viewers, a gap year is like a year after high school, after graduating from high school, before going to university.
Uh-huh.
So yeah, I was traveling during that year. I lived in different countries. In Malta, for example, I was a waitress in Malta, so that's another cool experience in an English-speaking country. So my English improved a lot when I worked in Malta because a lot of British tourists as well. So that was a great experience. Then I picked grapes in Germany. So a lot of jobs that were kind of um, low paid just to get experience and travel the world. Basically, that was my main goal back then.
Just travel
And
the world, no matter what you do, whether it's working as a waitress or picking grapes, which sounds a bit boring, but
sounds
means
so
to an end.
it was terrible to be honest. But I picked these grapes for like 3 weeks or something. So it wasn't that bad. But my only goal was to make money to travel. And I traveled a ton, like a lot, on the budget. On the budget, meaning with, little money.
There's another nice expression which we can use to exaggerate on a budget. If you're traveling on a budget, you're doing it without spending a lot of money. But if you do it on a shoestring budget, it's an extra exaggeration to say like you were traveling kind of with nothing. You didn't have any money really to make ends meet and get by. And with traveling, where did you go first? And what were the main kind of destinations that you visited?
So you can guess it was Spain, obviously.
Viva España.
Exacto. Spain was always my dream. I always wanted to speak Spanish, have a Spanish boyfriend, which
you did. So take off.
Yes, Spanish boyfriend and live in Spain. That was a dream of a younger me. So I went to Spain to the Canary Islands. This is crazy how the universe works, to be honest. So I went to the Canary Islands, obviously just backpacking, with a backpack without any suitcases, traveling light. Yeah, traveling light. That's another nice expression.
Yeah.
So I was traveling around Spain, and then I went to Asia, Thailand, Malaysia, Sri Lanka, a lot of countries, Cambodia, so in Asia, you can really travel on a budget. I mean, it depends where. I'm not talking about Japan right now or South Korea, but like Southeast Asia is pretty affordable, So if somebody wants to go travel on a budget, Southeast Asia is a good choice. Right. So then I started studying, actually, at a university in Warsaw, English philology.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's stay on the gap year first. So first you went to the Canary Islands, which is where you kind of live at the moment, more or less. And then you went there to Southeast Asia. During this period of time, traveling on a budget and traveling light at the same time, what were the highlights? Which places did you like the most?
I always get asked this question, but to be honest, it's so difficult to answer because now, in 2025, I travel full time and I've been doing this for years now. So I kind of call a few places home. One of them is definitely Tenerife. Like, this is my place, my partner is from Tenerife, but I feel they're at home. And I felt like this even before meeting him. So there is some special energy or whatever you want to call it. Like, this island is very special to me. So the Canary Islands, right? Then Thailand. Here I am in Chiang Mai, Thailand, which is like the northern part of Thailand. And I'm in love with this place. So I've been here for like 3 months already, and I will be one more. So this is what I call my Asian home.
And what is so special about Chiang Mai? Because I've visited Thailand and I've been to other areas in Thailand, Bangkok and the Phi Phi Islands and all of those.
Oh yeah, that's very different.
But I never ended up going to Chiang Mai because it was at the end of my kind of backpacking year. And my final destination was Bangkok to then fly back from Bangkok back to Manchester. So what's Chiang Mai like in comparison to other areas in Thailand?
Oh my God, Chiang Mai is so beautiful, so peaceful. The energy here is so chill, like really chill vibes. People are relaxed, smiling. For example, today I was going to a coffee shop to have breakfast, and some lady simply smiled to me on the street. So it was like, it is like really nice to be here. People are awesome. And this is also a digital nomad hub. This is what we could call it. As you can see, I'm in a co-working space right now. So a lot of digital nomads. I am a digital nomad, meaning that I work fully remotely and I can be wherever I want. So a lot of similar people, a lot of beautiful coffee shops. mountains, jungle. So during the weekends, we basically rent a motorbike with my boyfriend and we go, get lost in the jungle, waterfalls. So it's really beautiful when it comes to nature as well. Temples, a lot of Buddhist temples. Yeah.
Sounds amazing, especially from where I am right now and what time of the year it is, where it's just like
It's
it's
pretty
hot
rainy.
already and it's 5:30. And yeah, I'm going to go out for a run after this. And
Yeah.
I'm going to have to wear like a thermal top and like 2 layers of socks.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
I'm not
that's
jealous at all, I promise.
yeah, but what is it like rainy or cold?
I mean, a little bit of both. So, again, for people who watch this regularly, you'll know that I always get ahead and pre-record. So it's not going to be this cold when you're watching this. But right
Mhm.
now, it's 3 degrees. And yeah, it could be worse. It's not raining. And the forecast, in fact, for the next 10 days, according to Apple, which isn't very reliable, is no rain at all. And this is January in Belgium. So I take it. Maybe the weather isn't so bad.
Temperature's pretty low as per my standards.
How hot is it over there at the moment?
Around 25 degrees Celsius.
Beautiful.
Yeah,
Well,
that's why I love to spend winter here in Asia.
Asia home. Now, you've mentioned the Canary Islands and your partner as well. That maybe something's going on that brought you together. Maybe it was destiny. Who knows?
I
Did
mean,
Did you
you're
meet
joking.
in Tenerife?
Yes, but this is kind of true. The story how we met is actually pretty crazy. And you mentioned destiny. Sometimes I think it was some kind of destiny, to be honest, because I was backpacking in Tenerife. It was 2021. It was like in the middle of so the borders opened. I was studying online and I really didn't want to be in Poland anymore for personal reasons. So I decided to pack my backpack and go to
Uh-huh.
Spain. I wanted to practice my Spanish as well because back then I spoke Spanish, but it was un poquito, just a
Mm.
little.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so I went to the Canary Islands. I also went to La Gomera, which is one of the Canary Islands, and I went to spend like 2 weeks just with myself meditating, because I was in a very dark place when it comes to my personal life.
Mhm.
So I was in La Gomera for 2 weeks. Then I came back to Tenerife and I was walking down the street and he was walking down the street
Wow.
and he started talking to me. And this is how we started, as we can say, the ball rolling, right?
Mhm. It was love
Um,
at first sight by the sound of it.
um, it sounds uh, stupid, but it was. Yes. And he's a dating coach, so he know what he was doing, you know?
Wow. Did
Yeah,
you feel like he was using his playbook at the same time? Like,
he was. He was, definitely. He was, but it worked.
I mean, it worked. So, I mean, if anyone is looking to find their soulmate, then reach out to Veronica and she can put you in contact with a partner.
Yeah, and we are planning the future together. So, miracles happen,
Yeah, I
right?
mean, it was destiny. It was meant to be. It was written in the stars, I guess.
Kind of. But you mentioned that you also have a Spanish girlfriend. Can I ask how you met?
Absolutely. Like I've mentioned this once or twice on my channel, but very, very few and far between. So if like say out of 100 videos, I probably mentioned the story once out of 100. So people probably don't know. So I'll tell you this wonderfully romantic story once again. And I had just done my Erasmus year in Liverpool, where I went to university because I had been studying languages. And then it was my final year of my degree. I was renting a flat with 3 other mates. They were my housemates or roommates or flatmates. And it was my birthday on the 24th of September. And this is the beginning of like the university term. So we were like, oh, let's have a party. We've got a great house. It's right in front of a pub. So invite everybody. Everybody's welcome. And at my university, there was some kind of like buddy system for people who had already been on their Erasmus to be partnered with new people on Erasmus from other parts of Europe staying in Liverpool. My buddy wasn't my girlfriend, but one of my friends who was doing her Erasmus with me was partnered with my current girlfriend now. So I told her, like, invite them. Why not? The more the merrier. It's going to be a great time. Loads of people are coming. So a group of Spanish people came round for my birthday party. We didn't know each other at all. And this was university days in England. So everybody gets very drunk and you usually don't remember much the next day.
Exactly.
And it was my birthday, so I had an extra excuse to get absolutely wasted. So I remember opening the door to her and being like, hello, encantado, nice to meet you, make yourselves at home, feel free to grab a beer, etc. Then the party was happening for a couple of hours, and then I don't really remember the details of everything else.
Yeah.
But what I was told is that we kissed at some moment during the night, and I swear to God, I don't remember this at all. And I still feel awful for this. And I've apologized on multiple occasions. And of course, we laugh and joke about it now. But the next morning after the party, my flatmates were like, oh, Lewis, you were getting with that Spanish girl last night. Did you get a number or anything? And I was like, what? What are you on about? What are you talking about? So then I reached out to her and I was very, very honest from the beginning. And I told her, which maybe in hindsight, I perhaps shouldn't, but I told her like, hey, it was great to meet you last night. I had a really good time. And my mates were telling me that we kissed, but I'm sorry, I was so drunk. I don't remember anything, but I had a great time and I'd love to meet up. And then she kind of ghosted me for a few days because, like, classic English guy, such a drunk. How dare he? This is disgusting. But then I was persistent and I sent another couple of messages and then we ended up going out. We're kind of dating on and off during that year because she was Spanish, I was English. Who knew what could happen in the future? And then at the end of that year, we were like, okay, let's give it a go. So I moved to Seville and the rest is history, I guess.
Wow, what a story. I didn't expect you being so drunk, but I completely get it because sometimes out of parties like these, really great things can come.
Exactly. It was interesting. Yeah, if I could go back in time, I'd maybe drink a little bit less, or I'd maybe not be completely sincere the next day and be like, it was amazing last night. I can't wait to see you again. And maybe just omit that part, at least until a later date. But
I think honesty is very important and it's like the key, So, you were honest and you are still together.
Honesty is the best policy, as we say.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's my story. Hopefully you enjoyed hearing it again, everybody. And yeah, I think it's kind of a beautiful story now looking back. It's like, oh, yeah, pretty cool.
I find it's really beautiful. And what comes to my mind right now is that actually languages open up a lot of opportunities, not only, financial opportunities, but also beautiful relationships, right? If not English, I wouldn't be with my boyfriend right now. So because we started speaking English, I didn't speak Spanish like so well back then. Then I learned, and now we speak just Spanish. So languages really are, the doors.
Key to love.
Exactly, to love.
Excellent. Now, let's get into more about your digital nomad life and
Okay.
your content and your teaching and all of this kind of stuff. So, um, how did it all start? When did you start posting content and why?
Okay, so let's come back to the point when I was backpacking in the Canary Islands. Then I was really, how to say it? I was really
You were finding yourself,
frustrated.
maybe?
Yeah, I was really frustrated with the university because, to be honest, it didn't make any freaking sense. Um, I made a YouTube video about that, about my story, so there you can find more information about that. But basically, I studied English philology in Warsaw, and they made me memorize completely useless things. Some kings of, Great Britain and history of the UK, the US. And I understand that some aspects can be important, but really, like 95% of time, I was wasting my freaking time. So I decided to quit after 2 years, just before getting my degree. Anyway, I decided to quit. So I started this project and I had two options. It works or it works. There was no other option. It works, you know? So for the first 2 years, I was struggling a lot. No one was watching. And obviously, my accent was even worse than it is right now. So, as you can imagine, I was learning. I was learning how to record, how to talk to a camera, how to create content. I was, improving my accent. I decided to go more into the American accent, but you can still hear that I'm Polish, right? Um, well, this is my story. So my accent is my story, actually. And now I own it. Before I was really like embarrassed and what people are going to think, like, who is she? But I really wanted to help from the bottom of my heart. I really want to help. So that's basically my mission, to help. And I think that this drives me, you know. So I didn't stop. I continued publishing every single day, reels every single day, and one YouTube video every single week, even though no one was watching.
And did you
So that was
consider like quitting at this point or anything like that? You mentioned that you had two options. It was a works or it works, but did you ever think like maybe I should like pivot and change the angle of
um,
the content?
that's a very great question. And I never thought of quitting. I never wanted to quit, but I still sometimes question myself, like, uh, imposter syndrome, typical thing, right? Like, am I the right person to do this? Maybe what I share has no value to people, but then I read comments on YouTube and I keep going, you know?
It's like,
So I want to be really honest. I'm not a native speaker. I sometimes make mistakes. And, I am like this, and this is my story. And I think it's okay because everyone makes mistakes, in every area of our lives. We make mistakes, basically. I make financial mistakes, mistakes in my relationships. So, I really want to normalize making mistakes. And this is my message mostly on my YouTube channel, right? So I never wanted to quit, but
Mhm.
yes, I doubt a lot.
I mean, I think it's normal even for English native speakers to make mistakes with their own language. Like I do it quite a bit, and sometimes I'll like come up with a word that doesn't really make sense, or because I'm not used to being like an actor all the time, that sometimes I'll like mumble my words. So it's a good message to have to normalize making mistakes and not being perfect, because if we're aiming and striving for perfection, then we're only going to end up being disappointed. So I think it's better to have like measurable goals where you're like, okay, this year I would like to feel more confident in meetings in English, for example. And there could be various different objectives and goals that you can have, but you're always going to make mistakes along the way. And nobody's ever going to be perfect. It's just practice makes progress rather than practice makes perfect.
Exactly. So this is what I repeat a lot on my YouTube channel. Practice makes progress. So my goal is to show that we don't have to be perfect to use a language and to use it for our own benefit, right? Financial, relationships, travel, you name it. I mean, the goal is to speak, right? Of course, we want to learn from our mistakes. This is very important. I learn from my mistakes every single day, right? But I'm not perfect, but it doesn't stop me from achieving my goals. So after 2 years, the project started to get views. And yeah, this is what I do now. For now.
Yeah, we'll see what happens in the future. And
Exactly.
with being a digital nomad, I love the idea. And in theory, I think it sounds amazing. And of course, different people will like it, love it, hate it, whatever.
Yeah.
But it's true that when I was like backpacking around Southeast Asia and in Australia, or if I'm on holiday for more than a week or so, maybe it's an age thing as I'm getting older, who knows? But I start thinking like traveling's tiring. And then if there's
Yeah.
delay, and then I don't have my own bed. Like there are a lot of little downsides that I realize as I get older about traveling. For you, what would you say are the biggest pros and cons of being a digital nomad?
I totally get your point. But now I need to mention that I am not a backpacker anymore. You know, I make more money. So I travel comfortably, you know. I don't suffer in hostels or something. But, you know, hostels life was pretty cool anyway. But now I can afford to live better. So for me, full-time traveling is like a lifestyle. I don't move every 3 days or every 3 weeks. Yes, sometimes I stay in places for 3 months, 1 month, sometimes, but it's like long term, you know, and I have my bases, as I mentioned, Tenerife, Poland. I sometimes come back to my country. So Warsaw, Bali, this is also a great place. Bali, Thailand, right? And Kuala Lumpur in Malaysia. So, you know, I don't travel like crazy like before. So I am this type of person that don't really need my own bed or something. And this is also part of my story that I want to share in my new project for women about self-development. So you're gonna guys see that in the future. I mean, most probably if you see that in April, if you watch this in April, this is already my future.
So let's speak about the new project then. You've mentioned it. You mentioned it briefly off camera as well before we started recording. But right now, most of your content on Instagram is kind of teaching expressions, phrases, etc. in
Exactly.
English.
Instagram,
On
yes.
YouTube, it's more focused on language learning and
Exactly.
professional development, this kind of
Yeah,
stuff. You
exactly.
mentioned for women. So what is the aim and plan moving forward and now in the present in April?
Exactly. So in reality, it's all connected because you mentioned that you need your own bed or you miss your own bed, which is pretty normal. But because my story is my story, I don't kind of like need to be in one place for like personal reasons. And my story, my trauma, let's name it as it is, basically led me to the point of life that I really want to be aligned with myself and share my experience, my self-development journey, my spiritual awakening, let's call it like this, with women. And I really feel the drive and I feel that this is my life mission in reality. That's why I mix language learning with self-development, with mindset, because I think it's one. if you learn a language, self-development is going to help you a lot. And if you learn a language just technically, like memorizing grammar and words, in my opinion, that can be difficult as hell and not really enjoyable. But that's my opinion, my experience. Yeah. Right.
And with self-development, I'm a big believer in this as well. And it's all about having like a growth mindset. So you can look at any experience or whatever you do as thinking like every day is a school day and you can learn something from it. If you're willing to take on the responsibility, do the hard work, then you will gain something from it. And the only thing that imagine you go broke one day. Imagine people steal your house. Imagine anything could happen, all of these terrible scenarios. But what people can never take from you is your skills and the things that you learn. So you can always create a new project after if something fails. So I agree in the term of like knowing how important self-development is, because you have to be a little bit selfish sometimes and think about, number one, think about yourself and know that whatever you go through in life, there is always the opportunity to grow and learn, develop and become a better person. So yeah, we see eye to eye, I guess.
Yeah, so exactly. I think self-development is really the key. Because, if you mentioned, losing your house or something, going broke, everything can happen in life. But if you have a good self-development, you know how to manage these situations. And without self-development, to be honest, without this growth mindset and without a lot of books, I wouldn't be here because I would quit. That's why I never even thought of quitting, because I made sure that I really work on my mindset, on my habits, daily habits, right? So this is crucial.
Awesome. And there are many people that I follow just out of pleasure related to like businesses, entrepreneurship, self-development. A couple that I could say kind of without thinking would be Ali Abdal is a good person to follow. I mean,
it's more productive.
the Hormozis are kind of interesting. Some people like them, some people don't, but they have some pieces of information that are quite interesting that you can take from that. And there are many, many other people that you can follow online to kind of continue to immerse yourself in English and continue to practice your English whilst studying, I don't know, finance, business, self-development. But
whatever.
Any recommendations for other channels or podcasts or people to follow in this kind of niche?
Of course, yes. So I love to listen to Mel Robbins. She has obviously a beautiful American accent. So Mel Robbins, when it comes to podcast, The Diary of a CEO, I think this is the name of the channel. And this guy is British. So his accent is also very beautiful, British accent. What else? Julian himself, this is more like self-development. What else? There are a lot of channels, to be honest.
The list is endless.
Know thyself. Oh, know thyself. This guy is more into spirituality, but he interviews people. And I find his podcast really, really useful.
Perfect. Well, I think on those recommendations, we can finish off for today. And it's been a really interesting conversation. And I think we've learned a lot about each other, life. People have heard a couple of interesting stories as well. So I hope everybody enjoyed listening and watching this video. And Veronica, I don't know whether to say Veronica or Veronica.
You can say it as in English, Veronica.
Veronica. I'm always a little bit like, do I say the name and mess it up, or do I ask?
Yeah, because my original name is Veronica. This is in Polish, right? But Veronica in English, let's say.
Well, Veronica, thank you so much for being a guest and for sharing your story. It's been an absolute pleasure. And enjoy the digital nomad life and everything that is coming for you in the future.
Thank you so much for having me. Thank you guys so much for watching.
Awesome. So see you in the next video. Bye-bye.
Bye.